Now, what we are going to do is another topic which is on the four characters, all the characters, character analysis of Laura, Tom, and Amanda, which is the most important of the three. এটা খুব কোয়েশ্চেন আসে পরীক্ষাতে। So character analysis of Laura Winfield. Laura is presented as an extremely shy and sensitive person. Her shyness is emphasized even more by being contrasted with Amanda's forceful and almost brutal nature. We are made aware almost immediately of Laura's overly sensitive nature. She is so nervous that she cannot even attend business school without becoming violently sick. She is frightened and nervous when Tom and Amanda quarrel. She possesses a glass menagerie which she cares for its great tenderness, and she has withdrawn from the world, or withdrawn from what is real into what is make believe, a make believe world. Laura has a slight physical defect, limp, but she has magnified this limp until it has affected her entire personality. Laura's oversensitive nature makes her think that everyone notices her limp. It becomes for her a huge stumbling block to normal living. She cannot get over it and into the real world. Her inability to overcome this defect causes her to withdraw into her world of illusion. So the limp then becomes symbolic of Laura's inner nature. As Tom says, it is not just Laura's being crippled that makes her different, but she is just different. So she lives in a world of old phonograph records and glass animals. And then gentleman and then the gentleman caller arrives. For the first time we see Laura in her charm. She's fresh and pretty, and she does have charm. Not as Amanda once said, but in her own individualistic way. She is even capable of forgetting her physical handicap. She responds to Jim because he responds to her difference. So with Jim, she sees that her difference is an asset and not a handicap. But ironically, she leads Jim more into her world, and then she enters into his. Thus, when the evening is over, when the unicorn is broken and the hopes are shattered, Laura does not have to retreat back into her world because she has never left it sufficiently enough to necessitate the retreat. Quite the contrary, now that the unicorn is broken, is ordinary like Jim. She sends it forth with Jim, and she remains in a unique world with the other unique glass animals. So if you analyze the character of Tom Wingfield was potentially creative character caught in a conventional and materialistic world. He was the free spirit who had to curve his wings by working at a dreaded and disliked job in a warehouse. Tom had his own independent world composed of those things he considered important: his poetry, his dreams, his freedom, his adventure, and his illusion. All these things were in direct opposition to his mother's world. But Tom's conflict was between his world and the realistic world. He was realist enough to recognize his sister's plight. He knew that his mother's dreams of gentlemen callers were false. He recognized that he had no future with the warehouse, and he knew that he had to act without pity or else be destroyed as a sensitive being. He was forced then to leave his mother and sister, or be destroyed and consumed by their world of illusion, deception, and withdrawal. For years, Tom had sought escape from Amanda's nagging inquisition and commands the attending movies almost nightly. This was his search for adventure. It was an adventure, of course, to him, Tom, going to movies, but Tom was soon to realize that he was watching adventure rather than living it. He realized also that the movies and drinking were only momentary psychological escapes. He used movies as a type of adventure to compensate for his own dull, life and escape from the nagging reminders of his everyday life. He needed escape from Amanda's domineering instruction as how to eat, when to eat, what to eat, how to quit smoking, how to improve himself, what to read, and so forth. When she began confiscating the books which he had brought home, his life became almost intolerable. If Amanda could not appreciate the greatness of an established creative genius, his own creative endeavors would never be understood or appreciated. Finally, when Tom tries to make his mother see what that he is different from her, that he is not the exact reproduction of her own ideas, Amanda rejects the things which Tom stands for. Tom contended that man is by instinct a lover, a hunter, and a fighter. These are the qualities which Amanda's husband possessed, and she refused to recognize these qualities as decent. Therefore, Tom could only recognize his own instinctual drives by leaving home. Tom therefore acted with painful honesty by committing himself to a life that excluded the shoe warehouse. The shoe warehouse was a place where he had been working. So that was his life. So I'm talking of that life. And Tom, being aware of his boiling within himself, knew that he had to act quickly or else be stifled by his environment. He realized that his own creative abilities and his sensitivity were being destroyed by surroundings. Furthermore, he knew that if he didn't act, he would suffer regret, unhappiness, and a complete deterioration of his natural creative abilities. Tom's rejection of his family was not a selfish, egocentric escape. Instead, Tom recognized that he must escape in order to save himself. It was a means of self preservation. He knew that if he stayed, he would be destroyed as a man and as an artist. But as a man and artist and as a sensitive individual, he has never been able to forget his life and especially the delicate charm and loveliness of his sister. Character analysis of Amanda Wingfield, if we do it. Amanda Wingfield lives in a world that fluctuates between illusion and reality. When it's convenient to her, she simply closes eyes to the brutal, realistic world. She uses various escape mechanisms in order to endure her present position in life. When life in this tenement world becomes unbearable, she recalls the days of her youth when she lived at Blue Mountain and at 17 gentlemen. Indeed, the story has been told so often that it is no longer an illusion and instead has become a reality. She likewise indulges in playful games just to escape the drudgery of everyday living. She tells Laura, "You be the lady this time, and I'll be the darky." She refuses to acknowledge that Laura is crippled and instead refers to her as having only a slight physical defect. She refuses to accept the fact that Tom is quite different from her and that he, like his father, will someday leave in search of adventures. And finally, Amanda lives perpetually in the world of gentlemen, callers who will appear any day to sweep Laura off her feet. But she is unable to live forever in this world of illusion. The pressures of everyday living force her to face many unpleasant facts. Chief among these is the position of Laura. As she tells Laura, "I know so well what becomes of unmarried women who aren't prepared to occupy your position." Even if she faced acknowledging Laura's defects, she is a realist enough to understand Laura's difficult position. Furthermore, she has seen the letter that Tom received from the merchant of marine and knows that he will soon be leaving. Facing these brutal facts, she makes Tom arrange to have the gentleman caller arrive. But Amanda is full of other paradoxes. She wants only the best for her children. But then she fails to understand that what they most want is quite different from what she wants for them. She does gear her whole life toward the happiness, because she doesn't want them to make the same mistake that she made. And yet, in devoting herself to them, she has made herself overbearing and nagging. Amanda's refusal to see what that her children are quite different from her causes many uncomfortable moments. She cannot understand why Laura cannot develop charm and gaiety, but Amanda's idea of charm differs vastly from that of Laura's idea. Amanda can, at any moment, turn on a volley of chatter, but be exceptionally lively and gay. Laura, on the other hand, lives in a quiet, sensitive world. But Amanda possesses strong attributes. She does devote herself to children. She does possess a great determination and strength. Many women could not have survived under the same situation. So when she thinks a gentleman caller is coming, but she sets herself to the task of preparation with a determination that cannot be equaled in her children. If in the final analysis she is seen as giddy and frivolous, it is because life has passed her by. When her husband deserted her, she found herself faced with an empty and meaningless life. She then began to fabricate things with which to fill her life. She devoted herself too much to her children and began to live through her children. Since she is reliving her own life, she failed to understand the different personalities that her children possessed and ended up driving Tom away from home. Thus, Amanda is a person who lives alternately between a world of illusion and a world of reality. This fluctuation between these two worlds is her only defense against the boredom and emptiness of living. Now, if we finally assess the characters, Tom Wingfield, first, when Tennis Williams created Tom, he pulled a neat trick, created a character who exists outside and inside the play's action at the same time. When you see him standing on the fire escape adjoining the Wingfield apartment, Tom is the narrator. He's outside the action. He's a seasoned merchant sailor who has traveled on both land and sea. He's a good talker too, the kind you might like to spend an evening with over a few beers. He can be funny, as when he describes his runaway father as a telephone man who fell in love with long distances. So one actor reading of Tom lines can give you the impression that Tom regrets being a wanderer. Another actor can create the sense that Tom looks back with relief, pleased that he broke away at least from his mother. Now, because the whole play is Tom's memory brought to life on the stage, Tom may be the most important character. However, you could make a case for Amanda's importance as well. Either way, Tom sets the sentimental mood of the play and reveals only what he wants you to know about his family. If Amanda narrated the play, can you imagine how differently that it would be? So Tom calls himself a poet. He writes poetry at every opportunity. We hear poetic speeches poured from his lips. As a co-worker at the warehouse calls him Shakespeare, does it deserve the name? Do any of his speeches sound like poetry to you? So in addition, Tom claims a poet's weaknesses for symbols. In fact, the story bulges with the symbols of all kinds. Some obvious, the glass, little glass animals signifying Laura. Some more obscure, frequent references to the rainbows, for example. Now, you rarely see Tom in a cheerful mood. He complains, groans, sulks, argues, or pokes fun at others, especially at Amanda. He bristles under a constant nagging. He quarrels about inviting home a beau, B-E-A-U, beau, mane babu, for Laura. Most of all, he is repelled by Amanda's repeated references to a long ago past. So, why do Amanda's stories bother him so? Is his reaction typical of children listening to parents recount tales of their youth? There are many people like that who love to listen to the tales of the youth, of their parents, of the elders. Tom's resentful manner leads his mother to accuse him of having a temperament like a metropolitan opera star. Does Amanda have a point? Is Tom preoccupied with pleasing himself? Or do you sympathize with Tom? Tom's obligation seems to tear him apart. He's caught between responsibilities to his family and to himself. In short, he faces a dilemma that is often part of growing up. Which, in your opinion, ought to take precedence? Family responsibility or personal ambition? So, so to cope with frustration and pain, Tom sometimes uses bitter, you can say, humor. When Amanda accuses him of leading a shameful life, he knows it is futile to argue. So he jokes with his mother about his second identity. As Killer Wingfield, he calls himself, an El Diablo, the prince of the underworld. Or when Amanda is about to start reminiscing about Blue Mountains, he comments ironically to Laura, I know what is coming. Humor provides only a little relief. However, that is why he rushes off to the movies whenever he can. Watching someone else at benches on the movie screen offers Tom another diversion from his own dreary existence. But since he has to come out of the dark theater and face life again, escape to the movies solves no problems. At great cost, Tom learns that anyway, running away from problems never clears them from your mind. Now, you see, as you proceed with the story, what Tom tells you as he stands at the edge of the stage may be more than just the story of one young man's disillusion. He may be disillusioned. You might think of Tom as a representative of a whole generation of young people coming of age just as the world is exploding into war. They have high hopes and high dreams, but the future they wish for never comes. It is destroyed by forces beyond their control. The world is hit by lightning, Tom says. Tom's story then may be both personal and generally symbolic of life at a bleak time of our history. You can read it either way. Now comes Amanda Wingfield. In the production notes of the Glass Menagerie, Tennis Stadium tells you that Amanda is a little woman of great but confused vitality, clinging frantically to another time and place. There is much to admire at Amanda, and as much to love and pity as there is to laugh at. But do you agree? Do you find her as difficult to bear as Tom does? In contrast to Tom, who sets the mood in the play, Amanda is a mover, the character who sets the story into motion. Therefore, you might consider her of the play's main character. So throughout the play, Tom, Laura, James, and Jim respond to Amanda's stimulating and complex personality. এই দরজাটা একটু ভিজিয়ে রে even a husband who has just run from her showed a distinctive response to Amanda. Tom shares a few tender moments with his mother, but more typically, he is put off by her scolding and nagging. What are you likely to remember most about Amanda? Is it an irrational and inappropriate belief in the romantic past, or it might be her pathetic conviction that the children are bound to succeed in life because of their natural endowments? So she refuses to accept the fact that Tom is a malcontent with a dead end job. As for Laura, Amanda denies that her daughter had anything wrong with her, that a little charm, the typing force won't fix. Even Jim O'Connor, quite an ordinary young man, strikes Amanda as a shining prince. So you see that to understand Amanda, you should decide whether she is really as far gone as she often appears. Is she unaware of the fact that she simply refused to accept it? Obviously, Amanda acts foolish much of the time, and after her husband runs out, she does the best she can to provide for her family. Above all, she's strong, stronger than Tom, and stronger than her husband. শোনা যাচ্ছে না? ওই আমাদের বাথরুমের বেসিনটা ভেঙে পড়ে গেছে, তাই জন্য। দ্য পিট হচ্ছে বলে একদম শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, দাঁড়া 1 মিনিট, 1 মিনিট দাঁড়া।